So I spent last weekend in my hometown, Cincinnati, Ohio. And anytime I travel there, memories rush back, especially as I drive around familiar suburban streets where I still don't need a GPS all these years later. How many of you grew up somewhere else and can relate to this experience? Okay, so it's a lot of us. So as I drove, I passed my childhood dance studio where Miss Marcia taught me how to kickball change. I can do it for you later. And how to walk onto a stage with confidence and pride. I drove by my day camp bus stop where counselors showed me how we could fill a sweaty, hot 45-minute bus ride in both directions with humor and song. I drove into my dad's garage where our insect exterminator, Chuck, taught me more than I ever wanted to know about spiders. Did you know that you should always dump out your shoes if they've been sitting in the basement or garage for a long time? Some yeses here. Also, Chuck later consulted with me about a Manhattan apartment cockroach problem, but I'll spare you the details of that. You can ask me about that at the ONEG after I show you my ball change. I drove by restaurants and coffee shops where I sat with my beloved rabbi and mentor, Sissy Kuran, Zichrona Livracha, as a young rabbinical student to ask her questions and seek her advice. So much learning from so many people in so many places. It's no wonder that as I studied this week's Torah portion, Akev, surrounded by childhood trinkets and old camp collages, the following verses caught my eye. Therefore, impress these, my words, upon your very heart. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead, and teach them to your children, reciting them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Sound familiar? I read these words and began to chant to myself, Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam. From the Ve'ahavta. We're going to stop there. We'll do that a few times. From the Ve'ahavta, which we chanted earlier in our service. But then I quickly realized that those familiar words, Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam, occur in last week's Torah portion. So what was going on? Of course, I knew my rabbinical school professors would not be proud. I read the Parsha in English. I should have, at the very least, tracked the Hebrew as I read each verse. When I moved my eyes to the Hebrew side of the page, I saw that, in fact, the verse does not say, I promise this is the last time, Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam. Repeat them or impress them on your children, but rather, V'limadatem otam et b'neichem l'daber bam. V'limadatem otam et b'neichem, and teach them to your children. So instead of the word vishinantam, to repeat or impress, we find the word v'limadatem. The letters lamed, mem, dalet, are the root letters of the word limadatem, which means to teach. This word appears for the first time in the book of Deuteronomy, the book of Torah that we are in right now. And it does not appear in, and let's see if you know them in order, Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, or Leviticus. Okay? And more than that, this root appears 17 times in the book of Deuteronomy. And Cantor Hamstra knows all of these really well. So, for example, this root shows up towards the end of Deuteronomy when Moses recites a poem and instructs everybody to learn it and teach it to the people of Israel. This kind of repetition, now my rabbinical school professors would be very proud of me. This kind of repetition and the varied uses of the word throughout the Bible signal a special and expansive focus on education. It's not just parents who have a responsibility to teach children, and it's not only children who need to learn. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs goes as far as to say that Deuteronomy's focus on what he calls universal education was completely unique in the ancient world. He writes that Jews became the people whose heroes were teachers, whose citadels were schools, and whose passion was study and the life of the mind. So I have a Talmudic story for you about a rabbi named Rabbi Prida. Okay? Can you say that? Rabbi Prida? Rabbi Prida once had a student who struggled to grasp the lessons he was taught. He did not understand after the first time, not after the second time, not even after the third time. Every lesson required 400 repetitions before the student could grasp the material. One day during the student's lesson, another rabbi interrupted Rabbi Prida to ask for his help on a matter as soon as the lesson concluded. After the interruption, Rabbi Prida proceeded with the lesson as usual, but after the 400th repetition, Rabbi Prida's student was still confused. Oi, right? What happened, my dear student? It seems you're having trouble today, Rabbi Prida asked. The student responded, after the interruption, I couldn't stop wondering, will my teacher get up now? Will my teacher have to leave? What if we don't get to finish the lesson? I was so distracted by this worry that I couldn't pay attention. Rabbi Prida looked at his student affectionately and said to him, pay attention this time. I will not leave you. I will teach you until you have fully mastered the learning. Rabbi Prida went on to teach the lesson another 400 times. Suddenly, a divine voice called out from heaven with a reward for Rabbi Prida. Rabbi Prida, would you like 400 years added to your life? Or would you like for the rest in your generation to merit the world to come? Rabbi Prida responded immediately, I would like for the rest of my generation to merit the world to come. God heard this response and called out to the angels, give Rabbi Prida's generation the world to come as he requested, and give him 400 more years. What does this story come to teach us? That our ancient rabbis understood the great importance and honor owed to wise and patient teachers. Who comes to mind as you think about wise and patient teachers? I asked a similar question on Facebook this week, which I don't normally do, but I was curious to know what friends of mine have learned from important people in their lives. Doug told me that he learned about tzedakah, charity, from older friends who helped him when he was in need. Lori shared that her grandmother taught her that if she doesn't take care of herself, she won't be able to take care of others. Ellen wrote that the babysitter she hired to care for her children taught her a lot about the importance of flexibility in life. Benjamin wrote that his mentor and business partner taught him that it's possible to be satisfied with having enough and doing enough. Anna told a story about her high school softball coach who taught her to want to win, but that she should not view losing as a failure. What do you have in your heart to teach? What wisdom can you share? What would people in your life say they've learned from you? Rabbi Yochanan once said, one who studies the Torah but does not teach it is like a myrtle in the wilderness whose fragrance is wasted. Each of us, every single one of us has Torah to teach, even her. Each of us has life lessons to share. We are a people of teachers and students. We are the people of the book. So as summer fades to fall and students return to school, let us remember that all of us are teachers, that all of us are students, and that through our learning and our teaching, we bring blessings into this world. Shabbat shalom. Teachers to